All right, so these are pretty much my thought bubbles and how I had actually came up with my idea for my EE. So I kind of started off with this whole idea of. Actually, I'm going to flip around and actually show me. Hi. Okay, so I started off with this whole idea that I was going to do Ayn Rand and Voltaire. Those are kind of the two I was originally thinking about because I had heard of Ayn Rand before, especially because like with her books, like I knew that there was a movie called Atlas Shrugged that actually came out, and so I was just kind of thinking about that. And at the same time, we were reading about Voltaire in class, and we had talked about kind of their ideologies and their philosophical views. And I'm like thinking, with some of it, they sound so similar, both another part of it, like it. I don't even know how you would get that the two are even like remotely related. So when I was trying to figure out how I was going to write my EE, I had kind of like this idea in the back of my head where it's kind of like keeps poking you. It's like, hey, you could do this, This is going to be a philosophy essay. Because all the other ideas I wanted to do for my E were kind of turned down. They're kind of shot down. So I was thinking, okay, I actually can do a philosophy essay. This might work, but what would I want to do it on? So that's where I'm kind of deciding, okay, well, I would want to do like Ayn Rand and Voltaire, maybe, or I could do something a bit broader, because I don't even know where I would begin to start if I were going to try just jumping straight into Ayn Rand and Voltaire. So I was beginning to think about other ideas about like human nature and how people are and what I was actually going to be writing about. So from there, I was thinking, okay, individualism. That's something that's really broad, really basic. A lot of people can agree that like individualism is a huge part of human nature, and I can pretty much work from there. So I didn't really know where I was going to be going with this when I actually started it. I just kind of started writing down all of my thoughts, kind of as they came. We're sitting in the computer lab, and I'm just like, I know what I'll do. I'll make a mind map. This will be fun. So this is actually the first one that I did. It's going to be kind of hard to see, so I'll zoom in, but this is the first one. It is pretty extensive. So obviously starting in right at the center, individualism. From here you can kind of see that I went off to like maybe if it's part of a government, what the values of it are, what the ideologies are, and what like the purpose of the individual is, and how these kind of came in as moral stances that Ayn Rand and Voltaire both kind of employ. Kind of all the way through here, then you have like the different ideas of like political thought that's associated with individualism. Then up in this corner, which is actually really easy and really helpful, I was listing off a bunch of thinkers. All of the people that I could think of that had been said that they're individualists. They have individualist thought. Look at these guys. So all the ones that are highlighted are actually the ones that became really helpful when I was writing my EE. Because as I was going through here and I'm looking at the ways that individualism is related to society and humans' place in society, that's what I'm trying to figure out, okay, there has to be some like great way that I can figure all of this out. And these are all the different topics that I was like trying to apply individualism to. So like autonomy of people, capitalism, human rights, blah, 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 all that stuff. You don't really have to worry about that too much. Those are just some other ideas for like possible directions I might go within my essay. But back to this corner, back to where I was actually talking about all of the thinkers, this ended up being one of the most helpful things for me. So when I'm talking about Ayn Rand and Voltaire specific, so I was looking at Ayn Rand, her influences. So she was influenced by Friedrich Nietzsche. And so when I'm thinking, okay, well, who was he influenced by? Because she was studying Nietzsche back when she was in Soviet Russia after, like, the Bolshevik Revolution and all that fun stuff. And so after she had her very strong opinions on how much she actually kind of liked Nietzsche and what he had to say, I'm, like, thinking, maybe I should probably look at what Nietzsche had done. So what he had said and who had influenced him. Lo and behold, Voltaire was who is, in his opinion, one of the greatest authors of all time and greatest philosophers of all time. Yeah, kind of surprised to see that, but hey, I'm not complaining because it gave me pretty much a solid logic jump that would make it so I could actually write my EE. So as I'm going through here, I was actually like looking at all the different ways, everything that would actually be useful information for me. So I have the basis of individualism, the ideology that the individual is a primary focus in the struggle for liberation. That actually ended up being everything that I deemed was kind of important. I made sure to note, so I like highlighted it or like I circled it or made it like extra dark and blocky. Anything, so when you're looking at this later, you can actually be able to follow your thoughts, which that's one of the interesting things about this. So I can look at this like when you guys are looking at it, you may not necessarily see the same thing I see. So you're going to probably see like lots of arrows and lots of bold words and lots of chicken scratch handwriting. But so if you actually like look at it and you begin to look at how everything kind of radiates from here. So like you see this line right here, how it goes to economics and the individual, and kind of how all of this spreads, how it grows. And this is definitely a way that you can continue like cultivating ideas, and you can actually pull something fruitful and useful that you can write your essay out of. Because if you don't do that, then you're just kind of screwed and you're kind of like running into a brick wall a couple times. So just like think of every possible thing that you can and how it is actually able to be applied to what it is that you're even trying to write about. Since this was pretty early on, this actually is how I decided that I was going to be writing about Ayn Rand and Voltaire and their views of individualism. But this could have gone in so many different directions. Just starting with the basic idea of individualism. Up in this corner where you have like political views on individualism, you see like anarchism right there and like the different ideas between like Voltaire and Rousseau and Nietzsche and Locke and everything like that, especially with liberalism. That's pretty much what I wrote my IA in history in. So this is one of those really cool ideas where you can actually bring together everything you've learned in the rest of your wonderful IB experience and everything else that you've been doing in the rest of your classes, and actually do something more with it if you're interested in it. Like I was really interested in what I wrote my IA on, and so I decided like the basic ideas behind that were more applicable in like the grand scheme of human nature, so I decided I want to write a philosophy essay on it. So I'm going to show you the next one of my brain mapping endeavors when I was actually trying to figure out exactly what it was I was going to write for my EE.